Uh, a lot happening in the college football world. Bill Belichick to North Carolina. The college football playoff bracket is here. Lance Briggs, Greg Braggs here on CHGO Bears After Dark. Let's go. Welcome back to CHGO Bears After Dark, presented by our guys always over here at the CHGO Sports Studios. We're back. I am your host, Greg Braggs Jr. Alongside me, as always, is our guy, the legendary 55. Tired. Oh, it's time to get up. Time to shake off the cobwebs.
Yeah.
For another CHGO Bears After Dark. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Please hit that like button while you're hanging out. We're gonna be we're gonna take a break here for a little bit of crying about the Chicago Bears, and there's some different things going around the college football landscape. So that's how we'll start here today on our vibe check. But how we doing on this glorious Thursday here, Lance?
I'm doing good. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of interesting things happening around, the football world in America. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's get to it. Bill Belichick officially goes to North Carolina. I am absolutely shocked by this. It came together fairly quickly over the last week. You started to hear rumors, and the heat kept getting hotter. And now Bill Belichick, along with Michael Lombardi, are going over to North Carolina to turn North Carolina football into a pro circuit, kind of the way Deion Sanders, in a way, has shaped Colorado. So do you think that, I just would love to hear your perspective on how you think that Bill Belichick will acclimate to the college game?
Well, I mean, in North Carolina, they're kind of trading out one old guy for another old guy. It's actually an old guy upgrade, though. It's an old guy upgrade. Mac Brown, no disrespect to him. Mac Brown, he did some wonderful things, won a national championship at Texas. But the Bill Belichick, you talk about one of the top trees, coaching trees to come out of the NFL, and I think he's created such a habit of coaching, being away from it. It's like, man, this is what I have to do. This is what I've been known to do. This is what's me. The Deion effect also is, I think, one of the most important trends for colleges right now. Get a coach that not only can instill structure. There's an aura about him, but what he also there's a want to be here. This isn't a stepping stone for Belichick. It's not a stepping stone. It could be a stepping stone for Deion, but it's not, because of who he is morally. So you look at Arizona State and Dillingham. Dillingham is from the area. That's not a stepping stone for Dillingham. He wants to make Arizona State great. And Deion wants to make Colorado great. I feel the same way about Belichick in UNC. So the only difference between Belichick and the rest of those guys is as long as he wants to be a mainstay, but how long can he actually stay? You know what I mean? But outside of that, I think it's a good move for UNC, and we'll see what happens. Only time will tell.
Yeah, well, he signs a 3-year deal. So it sounds like he's certainly trying to set up his son for future opportunity there. but just in the short term of what he's trying to build from a program perspective with the NIL the way it is, pay for play, as Michael Lombardi said it in an interview, it's almost like a pro structure, but without the NFL draft. So everything, the way you build a roster, like we said, with what you're seeing with Deion Sanders, is all from a recruiting standpoint, as they used to call it before, paying for players became a legal operation. Let's not get it twisted. I'm sure some players were still lining their pockets before it was legal, but at the same time, now that it is legal, and I don't begrudge any player for getting paid for the amount of money that these universities have been making off of college athletes for decades. But now you have an opportunity if you're Bill Belichick and you're Deion Sanders and say, I know how to get you to the NFL. Yeah. So come to my program. So when you talk about a stepping stone for the coaches, really it's now become a stepping stone for these players to be able to say, I know I can go to this program, get paid, and also have an avenue to the NFL and have a coach that's going to set me up for that opportunity.
I can't imagine, being a coach in college right now, especially one of these bigger schools where you have a young guy that had a good year last year at Florida, goes in and says, hey, coach, listen, I want $540,000 next year or $52,000 a month. And I want to be guaranteed that I'm going to get all third downs on defense. I'm going to be able to be more in the rotation or I'm leaving. I'm getting into the portal. You know what I mean? I just can't imagine being that coach that you walk in and you say this to me and think that you're going to get a good reaction from me.
Yep.
Well, farewell, son. I wish you well. I bid you well. Right. on whatever it is that you want to get. It's just not going to be here.
No, yeah, 100%. It's a trickier game, and you saw Nick Saban gracefully bow out of this game because he's played it one way for a long time. I don't know. I know Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are certainly close, so maybe he'll join his staff in some capacity, maybe as an advisor or something along those lines.
You got to have somebody that can deflect. I think for Belichick, I'm not the guy to come in and ask for those things. Okay, if you want playing time, you got to earn it. You want to talk about playing, what happens on the field, you talk to me. There's somebody that handles the NIL. There's somebody that handles this department. There's somebody that handles the health. Don't talk numbers with me. I'm not the numbers guy. You want to talk football field, I come in here, I can tell you right now, if you come in and say that you want me to guarantee you that you're going to get third downs and more rotation, no, you can earn it though. And you've done a good job this past year in inching yourself closer. You're now in the mix to compete for a starting job, as opposed to, which means that you're probably going to get more rotation whether you win it or don't. But that's where I am, and I have a sense that that's the Belichick role that he'll take handling his players.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you played, at the peak of the Bill Belichick era, when he was with the New England Patriots. What was that like for you to go up against those guys and Bill Belichick's attention to detail and the way he had teams prepared for you when you studied them on tape and you understood their tendencies? Yeah. What was the biggest takeaways you had when you knew you had to go up against Bill Belichick and the Patriots, in a game week?
Going against them, I was so impressed by how well they knew all the nuances of our defense and how to manipulate our fundamentals, that when people talk about Spygate, you really like, man, I feel like they did that against us too. It was one of those deals, man. It was when we played them, when we go into our defensive review with our defensive unit, it's the first time I had seen so many of our coaches stand up. So if it's my play, it was one of those deals. It was one of those years where it was like, our coach would say, all right, play 26, Lance didn't get off a block. He didn't get in his gap. And we got gashed, minus make the play. And so we would go through those things, and then we would call out good plays, we call out bad plays. And it was one of the few times I've ever seen so many of our coaches stand up and say, this one's on me, they knew our technique and they manipulated it, and so we dropped when they're cutting in. That's on me, and then another coach stands up, coach, this one's on me. They understand the way that we run our scheme, and I'm like, damn, I mean, we had our hands tied behind our back the whole time, but it was, you talk about accountability, and in that room, we gained a lot of respect for each other because it wasn't just put on the players. The coaches took ownership of that loss as well. But I'd never been in a room where so many coaches had stand up and said that.
Yeah. So when you talk about being in that film room after a Patriots game, I got to ask you, the infamous moment when a certain number 54, Brian Urlacher, and Tom Brady gave him the juke.
The 1-2.
The 1-2 by Tom Brady. Did you guys have to give him a little business for that one? Urlacher's made some great tackles in his career, but Tom Brady got him on that one.
Listen, we'll never pass up a moment to lighten or to enlighten any of those moments. I guarantee you, any moment that has happened on the field where I slipped, fell, got ran over, got trucked, whatever it was, I can't wait till that number. So the first thing you do when you get in there, because the play happened and you look in there, you're like, okay. And you're looking at, it was play number 65. Okay, play 65. I'm looking at it. It was like, because you have your notes, you have all the linebacker notes. So it says, Urlacher minus make the play, missed tackle on Tom Brady. Wow, can't believe you allowed that old man to shake you. You know what I mean? It's one of those little lines, right? So now we're getting close to play 75, and I'm getting fidgety. I'm like, and as we're getting close to play number 70 or 65, Urlacher's looking at his paper and he's getting fidgety too. And we get to about play 63 or 64. Coach, I gotta use the bathroom. You know what I mean? So he'll go use the bathroom, and he'll go and we'll go. And as he leaves, our coach will say, hey, don't worry, we'll come back to that when he gets back in here. So we'll move on. He'll come back, sit down, and then we'll flip right back to play 65. Now, listen, we got blown out, or actually that game we didn't get blown out. It was a very close game. And these meetings are serious, but we never like that. Those moments you'll never forget because everybody in the room is laughing.
Yeah, you gotta have a little bit of levity. It's a serious thing. You guys trying to win games, but if you can't sit there and kind of laugh at a moment like that, I mean, hey, Tom Brady, not the flightest of foot, but he got him on that one. And so do you ever recall a moment like who's the one guy that got you on a shimmy shake? Is there anything that sticks out to you for a guy that never got one on you?
I play in space a lot, so it happens. It happens for me is more than it's probably going to happen for Brian. But Foster, he's the head coach for the UCLA Bruins right now, and when he was playing for the Carolina Panthers, they threw a screen pass to him, and I'm running up. Now a little backstory. Like I remember coming out of high school, he was a year older than me, and he was the number one running back in the country. And he went to UCLA. So it was one of those deals where I didn't get to see him a lot in college. I think I played against him maybe once, but when I got a chance at the Carolina, I'm like, man, I really want to light this guy up, And so as he gets the screen pass, we get close, and he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna do this. We get close, this sucker shakes me, and I fly right by. It felt like Top Gun. He hit the brakes, and I flew right by. Okay, so now I'm pissed, and I'm like, damn, how could you be so dumb? Now they run another screen to this guy. Okay, they run another screen. And this is the mental makeup of football. Like when you get to the highest level, it's really a mental game. It's a mental game. It's angles. It's all these different things. So now he gets the ball, and as I get close, my thought process is he's going to shake me. So I break down. This sucker runs me over and keeps going. Okay. That's the mental game. I'm like, there, all I can do is laugh. I'm like, there, you got me. You got me.
Yeah.
So yes, when we turned the tape on and it came, yes, it was a nice little laughing moment for all the other linebackers in the room.
Well, you saw, and there was some mic'd up moments, with Fred Warner and Caleb Williams after the game where Caleb gave a little shake and a spin, and when he was scrambling down the right side, and after the game, they joked about it. So I mean, I think you guys all understand, hey, you guys are all world class athletes. Somebody's going to get you once in a while. Nobody is going to be a stranger to having one of those moments happen to them.
Man, listen, I remember we played Denver, and Tim Tebow was on the team. And there was like a TV timeout. There's a TV timeout, and he's in his huddle. We're in our huddle. And Tim turns around and he goes, "Hey, what's up, Lance Briggs?" And I don't listen, I don't know him. I don't know him, and I turned around, I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Right. And when I turned back around to my huddle, everyone's like, "Oh, you know Tim Tebow. Oh, you didn't tell us that you know Tim Tebow. Oh, you're best friends, huh? You're best friends." I'm like, I don't even know the
guy. Oh, man. Well, that was a pretty wild game too. I can still remember being at my old house when Tim Tebow, that was the peak of Tebow mania. You guys, the luck that they found themselves in to come away with that game. I think I went outside and indulge into some sunny side here because I couldn't take that one. That was a bridge too far. But we're gonna take a quick timeout. We're getting 5 for 55 coming up. Going to be talking about the college football playoff, so don't go away. But first, want to give a shout out to our guys over at Sunnyside. 50% off when you're using the code HICHGO. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your winter, keeping you warm. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Stop in the store nearest you throughout Illinois for expert guidance from their staff, or select from quality lines like Cresco or Florical. Available now is the good news LTO, aka limited time offer, Island Vibes, available in disposable vapes. Good news, Island Vibes, destination relaxation, puff paradise. They have it all. Launching from now until December 31st, Sunnyside Scratch and Stash is back again this holiday season. Receive a scratch-off card every time you shop now through December 31st or while supplies last. Every card is a winner. You could win big, like 50% off or $100 off your next purchase. Hurry in to see what you could win. Visit Sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases, or enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 or older or Illinois medical card holders. Also want to give a shout out to our guys over at Miller Lite. That's right. A lot's changed over the years. One thing that hasn't, the great taste of Miller Lite. Another thing that hasn't changed is that it's less filling. So what is the best thing about original light beer? Well, Miller Lite sparked this debate in 1975, and we still haven't settled it. Great taste or less filling? Well, Miller Lite keeps it simple, undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. Miller Lite is the official beer of the Chicago Bears, and you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/CHGO football, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer. Make sure you go get yourself some Miller Lite. All right, we're rolling things along here on CHGO Bears After Dark. Please, once again, hit that like button while you're hanging out. We appreciate each and every one of you, and make sure you subscribe to the channel here at CHGO Sports. We got a lot to talk about, but of course, our award-winning segment that we debuted last week, the 5 for 55, is back once again. And we today are going to be talking about the college football bracket that just got released here over the weekend. Some interesting names here to go through. And so we're going to go through that here in the 5 for 55 and kind of talk about different things. And then we'll go through it as the college football playoff progresses. So let's start it out. We're going to have the timer, 55 seconds on Clemson versus Texas. L Boogie, the floor is
right. Here's to the Clemson team led by Dabo Sweeney. And you know the anti-transfer portal guys. You know, I'm going to develop these guys into champions. I felt like Clemson kind of squeaked in here a bit, even though all these teams are playing a lot better this time of the year. Texas, although they have that loss to Georgia, or the 2 losses to Georgia, I still think that they are one of the teams to beat. They are a team that probably should be in the bye week. You know, I just don't see Clemson making it happen.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Texas got a lot of power with that program, and it'll be interesting to see some players that maybe the Chicago Bears will take interest in drafting. It wouldn't hurt that for sure. So there's the 55 for Clemson versus Texas. We'll keep this rolling along and move on to Tennessee versus Ohio State, who got humbled against Michigan. So no more. We'll see if Ohio State can avoid another flag planting. 55 seconds for Ohio State, Tennessee.
Well, if you just look at it, you'd say the Ohio State should be the front runner for this game, which they are. I'm sure they're favored. And I think one of the problems with Tennessee, I think, is in these big games against these big teams, that their win-loss record isn't as great as you would like it to be. I do think that this game is closer than people may think it would be, and I say that because there are some chinks in Ohio State's chain this year. Even with all the great athletes that they have, they're coming off a big defeat against Michigan, which was a really defensive game. However, Ohio State finds a way to win. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say so, but I think that they got humbled a bit against Michigan, and we'll see if they are still thinking about that loss, because there was a lot of chaos after that game as well with the Ohio State cops pepper spraying Michigan. Like, I was sitting there like, well, I didn't know that, like, if my team lost, we could pepper spray the other team. If that was the case, then we get the Packers back over to Soldier Field.
Damn right. I need something to talk about over Christmas dinner.
Oh boy, that was a wild scene. So we'll see if Ohio State can bounce back from that one. All right, moving things along here. We've got SMU, kind of the underdog story of this bracket, going up against Penn State. 55 seconds. What do you think?
Listen, I'm sure that everybody has Penn State to pick to win against SMU, except for people that may live in Dallas, Texas. However, if SMU did win, it would be quite a game. Penn State wins this one unless SMU does something absolutely magical, but kudos to them. I'll probably be rooting for them. You know, I'm sure Anthony Adams and some of my Penn State friends won't like that, but, you know, I'm an underdog guy. I like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I think the more we get into this, the more you're going to see this bracket littered with SEC and Big Ten schools, which have kind of become these superpower conferences as they continue to add more and more teams to these conferences. So it's going to be harder and harder for teams like that here to make it. You're shaking your head a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
Because you're going to see more and more Texas teams. Who's got the money? You want to talk about NIL? Who's got the money? You see SMU in right now. SMU's not going to. It's not going to be they're not going to falter. You know, Texas, they have Lamborghinis. Their guys get Lamborghinis. Okay, you want to talk NIL? So if you want to talk NIL, listen, Texas is it's the oil-rich state. Okay, you're going to see more players going to Texas, and you're going to see more of them in these brackets in the future. Why not?
Yeah, well, El Boogie, you once had a Lamborghini.
I
Allegedly.
did. I did.
Oh, I had to. I'm sorry. I had to.
No, it's good. It's good. A lot of people. I get a lot of comments from people that want to troll me. Like it gets under my skin. Like it bothers me. I just want to set the record straight. It doesn't bother me. It's actually laughable. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course. We're of course. We love you, Boogie. We love you. So, all right. Final. We got a couple more to get through here for the 5 for 55 Emmy Award winning segment. My big game coming up on the 20th. They're going to play 3 games on the 21st on Saturday. Only 1 game on primetime Friday night. That's Indiana versus Notre Dame, an in-state matchup. You know about the Midwest here in Indiana.
Come on.
IU and Notre Dame, there's always been this. It's kind of funny because Purdue fans will make fun of IU basketball fans for liking Notre Dame football. And so now all of a sudden you get this matchup that you thought you'd never see on this big of a stage. IU with Curt Cignetti versus Notre Dame and your former teammate at training camp, Marcus Freeman. 55 seconds on the big in-state matchup.
Well. This is the big one. If you're in the Midwest, this is a big one for you. In-state, Indiana versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame is tricky because, where you look at their personnel and you say, okay, man, this team should be really strong. They'll lose a game. They'll lose a game here or they'll lose a game there along the way. But they lost early and have built a lot of momentum coming into this game. Indiana has been the Cinderella of the year in college football. Obviously they lost in the championship, but I think this is a 50-50, almost a 50-50 fight if everybody comes out and plays their best game.
Yeah. As a Notre Dame fan, I'm always bracing for the worst. And this would certainly, if you had to have them face any team in their first game, and you talk about, I'm always worried about what's going to be the most embarrassing loss for Notre Dame. Obviously, losing to Northern Illinois, they lose a game like that, it seems like every year. And so I'm always worried about that embarrassing moment. And so now you've got an IU team coming to Notre Dame. IU has nothing to lose as far as I'm concerned, and Notre Dame has everything to lose. So I think that plays in IU's favor. But, from a personnel standpoint, Notre Dame has the big dogs in the trenches.
I've always said that.
Always have the big dogs. So they should be able to take care of business. But the longer you let IU hang around and the more you let them believe in themselves, I think the more that Notre Dame fans should worry when we get in the second half. So I just think all bets are off when it comes to Notre Dame because they've always got this,
that's the tricky part. That's the tricky part. You know what I mean? And there's a way that they have to impose their will here. They're superior in the trenches. And if they're superior in the trenches, there's a way to win this game.
Yeah, 100%. And Curt Cignetti certainly has got them kind of operating like a well-oiled machine. But you saw when they played Ohio State, a big boy program, because the one argument you can make against IU is their schedule was pretty light. Then they play Ohio State and get the brakes beat off them. Yep. But Notre Dame lost to a team like Northern Illinois. So I think anything is possible in a game like this. It'll be interesting to see that matchup on the big stage. Final question here on the 5 for 55. Who got snubbed? 55 seconds. Couple teams that are certainly complaining. One being Alabama. 55 from the 55. Who got snubbed?
All right. So when you say who got snubbed, all right, let's talk about who didn't get snubbed. Okay, and who didn't get snubbed are teams from the SEC. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. All right, they're always going to argue, well, we have the toughest conference. All right, well, you have a choice. You have a choice to be in the conference that you want to go to. All right. You have a choice to go to Alabama. You have a choice to go to these teams. So when you find yourself in these most competitive conferences, all right, and you find yourself on the outside looking in, all right, it's because you didn't win the games you were supposed to. That's why. You didn't win the games you were supposed to. Don't cry about Indiana getting in there. Don't cry about SMU getting in there. All right. Go win the games you're supposed to and get yourself in. And because you're the most competitive conference, more than likely, you'll probably win it if you get into the doggone playoff.
Yeah. No, it's well said. I think every team has every opportunity to get in there, and they've expanded this playoff from 2-team national championship to a 4-team playoff, and now it's up to 12. Like at this point, if you didn't get in, it's on your own. It's on your own call. We can't keep. This isn't going to be like the college basketball playoff where we're going to extend this to 65 teams. Sorry, if you didn't get in, that's on you. So looking at the bracket here, if Tennessee and Ohio, if the winner of Tennessee Ohio State would play Oregon. I always say Oregon. Everybody makes fun of me. And then of course Clemson versus Texas. Winner plays Arizona State in Briggs' neck of the woods. And then you've got IU, Notre Dame. Winner takes on Georgia. Certainly going to be a tough one for either of those teams there. And then SMU and Penn State. Winner plays Boise State. So as we go along here on this college football playoff, we will continue to talk about that. And, because we're getting to the end of the Bears season, and we can certainly talk about who the next head coach is going to be and what Caleb Williams needs to do to end the year. And we're going to talk about the Bears-Vikings matchup coming up here in just a little bit. But, we can take a break from beating the dead horse that is the Chicago Bears, and they certainly are the dead horse in the NFC North, unfortunately. So we took a little time to talk a little college football here to start the show. So once again, hit that like button while you're hanging out. We're going to be talking about a rule change that might be coming across the NFL, and then we'll get into a Bears-Vikings preview. But first, want to give a shout-out to our guys over at Circa Sports. Love our guys over at Circa. They've been a great partner to us here at CHGO Sports. Whether it's pro or college, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures are in-game. Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Make sure you get your bets in to Circa Sports before the college football playoff gets underway. And if you're trying to attend the college football playoff, make sure you hit up our guys over at Game Time. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. Togetherness, Briggsy. That means when you bring people together at live events.
Not individualism. Yes.
Yes, that's right. The experience is much better with Game Time, and they are the perfect gift. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing that I love about Game Time is that you'll be able to see your seat with a great panoramic view on the app before you buy, so you get the exact vantage point of the seat you're buying. I actually bought some tickets to a concert that's coming to Chicago over the summer at Soldier Field. Little old school, Briggs, but AC/DC's back on tour for the first time in a decade. Somebody I really grew up loving. So getting a little long in the tooth, but got to hit up AC/DC before they call it a career, which them rock stars that they don't stop until they drop. The other thing that's great about them is the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. So unlike some of these other secondary markets that try to trick you and tell you, oh, look, this is how much the price is, and then 4 windows later as you go to buy, it's twice the amount that it showed when you initially clicked on it. Game Time doesn't do that. They also have the best ticket coverage in town. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, Create an account and use the redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
Game time!
Who? That's right. Game time. Hit them up. All right, moving things along here on CHGO Bears After Dark with our guy, Lance Briggs. Make sure you're hitting the like button while you're hanging out here. And we appreciate everyone joining us here as you get set for Thursday night football here on CHGO Bears After Dark. So there was a rule change that might be coming down the pike. There was a couple different things that were brought to attention at the owners' meeting. There's a chance that face masks could become reviewable, and I think that's something fans certainly would encourage, I think, with some of the frustrations on those calls being a big swing in momentum on drives. Make sure you're getting those right. But the one that I found interesting that I wanted to get your perspective on, Lance, is Troy Vincent said the NFL will look to outlaw the low block. And he goes on to say, every block should be above the knee, but below the neck. This is the right time to remove the low block out of the game. So, this is obviously something that you've ran into many times in your career. You're a coach now. So you've obviously used the low block to your advantage, and obviously playing against the low block, this is how people tried to wipe you out of a play. So I'm curious your perspective on how a rule change like this could affect the game.
Player safety. All right, let's talk about player safety. Okay, and we've been inching toward this anyway a little bit. Where a cut block is legal and where it's not legal, and inside that box rule. This is going to be an unwelcomed change for offensive line coaches and all of those guys in that power run scheme stuff. But for us defensive guys, there's been so many guys that have torn ligaments in their knees because of these type of blocks. So when we talk about player safety, one of the first things that defensive coaches and defensive guys talk about is, well, if you're worried about player safety, then why hasn't the cut block been taken out of the game? Troy Vincent is an ex-defensive guy, so he's a guy that's known that this should have been on the forefront a long time ago. Glad it's here. Let's see if it gets pushed through, because if player safety is the most important thing, this rule right here should be implemented.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when you talk about a tight end trying to have a chance and a prayer against, a guy like you on the edge, that's going to make life a lot more difficult on those guys to set that edge, right?
Oh yeah. Like, listen, I know that when you have to remember this too. You put this rule in, this rule gets implemented. Offenses are going to have to get a lot more creative with how they're going to do things, because now, a guy firing off, you're not worried about somebody coming to cut you now. Now, the speed to power, pushing a guy back and getting him playing on the other side of the ball is going to make a lot of nightmares for offenses. You're going to have to get to the point where now offensively, you're going to have to get more quarterbacks under center and getting a downhill run game to push guys. You're not going to, like, one-on-ones are going to be a problem, and one-on-ones are going to happen more to the outside. So you're going to have to be very creative with how you are able to push defensive linemen backwards.
Yeah, it's interesting because, yesterday we talked to Brian Baldinger about this rule change, and, he's an former offensive lineman, so he gives one perspective, and you're the defensive guy. So, your contention is player safety because you've been cut blocked many times in your career, and so you understand the danger of a block like that, as you guys
very
are
dangerous.
Lead. And Brian Baldinger, who is always probably looking at things more so through an offensive scope, because that was how he was trying to win the battle on the war of attrition on the trenches.
So he was a cut specialist.
His contention was, well, hey, be more athletic. You got to shed those blocks. So it's interesting to hear the contrasting opinion on how this should be.
Be more athletic. Really? That was his go-to? That was his go-to line?
Yeah.
All right, you're right. Listen to what he's saying and listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is let's protect the players. All right. That is it's a dangerous block. It always has been. All right. We've tried to reduce that block to as much as you can reduce it, and it's still dangerous. It's still dangerous. Okay. There were guys that were cutting other guys while they were engaged with the linemen, fighting, and the guy cut. I watched one of my closest friends get his ligaments torn against Washington, okay, because he was engaged and it was an illegal block, So yeah, be more athletic. Okay, all right, sounds good. All right, still, let's protect the players.
So if let's say they don't take the rule away, I'm curious from your perspective then. How do you? Okay, all right, so they've taken the rule away where when you're engaged, somebody else can't come in and low block you. But if it's the way it's ran now, where you are allowed, how do you go about trying to avoid getting low block to shed that block and make the play?
Well, you practice it. I mean, if the rule's not implemented, then we'll go about defense will go about business as we always have. We'll go about business. That's part of what you practice. And if you get a lineman that fires out and you're within the box, excuse me, and you're a fast linebacker, there's a chance he's going to try to cut you. You know what I mean? So we've been practicing to protect ourselves against this.
What are some of the techniques that you'd practice to try to avoid it?
Oh, we'd get kind of those big dummies, the big dummy bags. And for us, linebacker wise, we'd have to push away. We'd have to get low, boom, make sure we handle our cut block before we get up to the second level. Now we'll get our read. Our read tells us we have to go to the left really fast. But because we are a fast linebacker or they're getting up to the second level fast, the only way that they can probably reach us is by being able to cut. This is where Brian Baldinger is saying that the cut block is necessary, because from a backside lineman trying to get to a backside linebacker that's fast, you'll never get to him with speed because he's going to beat you with speed. So the cut block is the only way that he has a chance to possibly get to you. And if he can get to you and clip your feet, they now have a chance to have a running back that can cut to find a gap or a gash against the defense.
Yeah, it's kind of a cross in the road, right? I mean, the league has done everything that they can to enhance the offensive side of the ball and more points being scored. But then there's also this other side where they've tried to protect the players and emphasize player safety and try to eliminate guys having season-ending injuries. So these two kind of work against each other. So it'll be interesting to see what the NFL decides here, because if they do make this rule and say you can't, cut block or low block, it's going to make defenses start to have the upper hand on the edge.
It will, but you know what? This game, there's so much more that can be created from this game. So when I say that, yes, that backside lineman is not going to be able to reach that backside linebacker because he's too fast. Well, what's not to say that we create a play that we want him to overrun the lineman. All right, we want him to overrun the lineman so that we can misdirection, come back and have the lineman waiting for him when he comes back. It's all about creativity. I'm seeing a lot of creativity in the NFL right now, and that trickles down to college. It trickles down to the high school levels and below. So all it does, what you see is always just shock value. So in the shock value of a new rule being placed, you're going to see a bunch of penalties. All right, until we find that medium to, okay, all right, now they said the hitting's been taken out of football, but hitting's just going to take a while for us, to the defensive players, to adjust. And now you're seeing guys hit, but they're hitting correctly, they're hitting lower, they're getting away with better hits, And the same thing will go for if you take out cut blocking. There's going to be some shock value, but offensive guys, they're smart enough to figure out, okay, since this is what's happening, this is how we'll manipulate our run scheme or our pass scheme moving forward.
Interesting. So we'll have to monitor that, as the NFL is always trying to adjust the league here. So some different ideas being thrown around. They've also talked about, maybe tweaking the onside kick rule in different ways. And so they're always trying to come up with something here to make the league more safe and more entertaining. So We'll see how all that goes. So moving things along here on CHGO Bears After Dark. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be live for pre- and post-game show on Monday night as the Bears take on the Vikings. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bears adjust. So let's get into that conversation right now and get into our Bears-Vikings preview. You know, Thomas Brown in his first game as interim head coach, it obviously did not go well as the Bears suffer one of their worst losses to the season to the San Francisco 49ers. And, you know, at halftime, I think it was 300 total yards to 2. And so you couldn't have had a worse showing if you're Thomas Brown and what you wanted to see from your team, as Matt Eberflus was shown the door and fired after Thanksgiving. But now it's interesting because you have an opportunity now, if you're Thomas Brown, to show how you bounce back from a loss, how you make adjustments from the things you did wrong against San Francisco. And it's also a game where you are going to make adjustments against a team that you just played as a play caller, you know, as the offensive coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings just a few weeks ago, where you had 400 yards of total offense and Caleb Williams ended the game with 340 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. So they had some success offensively against Minnesota, but now you go to Minnesota this time around and you have Brian Flores, who's certainly going to make adjustments for himself.
Yeah, I'm still kind of I'm still a little upset that Thomas Brown has been taken down from, you know, that skybox. You know, I thought that's where he was most effective, and a firing. I thought a lot of thought needs to go into that firing and how it is going to affect this team when you bring Thomas Brown down to the field. And in week 1, it's had a negative effect. So, you know, with that being said, either way, the guy that's up there now, you know, it wasn't a good first outing for him. And now going into the Vikings that have had weeks to adjust from the last game that they played against the Bears, and Bears having weeks to adjust from that game and what they've seen from the Vikings. I guess I guess the thing that I take the most from this game upcoming against the Vikings is take it one play at a time, take it one series at a time, you know, and try to win the down, you know, win the down, win the series, you know, extend the series, no matter what it is, just focus on that rather than what the point differential is in that game, whether it's close, whether it's wide, win a series, you know, and then win another one and try to get some points out of that drive. Defensively, getting your doggone gaps. All right, let's stop this run. Let's make them one-dimensional, and let's take this one series at a time and get off the doggone field. And then we'll see whatever happens after the game. And you know, that's at this point with the Bears. That's the way you got to look at things.
Well, and the way fans constantly look at things, including myself, I'm a victim of this, is like all we care about is how's Caleb Williams going to do in this game? Because we're looking ahead to the future, and we want this offense to just keep stepping up. Because for fans, we believe when we look at a team like the Kansas City Chiefs or some of the best teams in the NFL, the Bills or whoever, you need a high octane offense to survive, and win a championship. But at the same time, the problem with the Bears right now, certainly over this 7-game losing streak, is their defense has fallen off precipitously. I mean, that was what was winning them games early in the season, games they maybe shouldn't have won, like against the Titans week 1, but your defense was holding serve. And so now you look at the last time you played the Vikings, and you can talk about the offensive success that the Bears had against them, but look at what the Vikings were able to do against the Bears, you know, from their side of the ball offensively. Sam Darnold goes 22 of 34 for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Aaron Jones runs for 22 carries on 106 yards on a 5-yard per carry average. So, you know, you had Jordan Addison break loose for 162 yards, TJ Hawkinson for 142 yards on 7 catches. George Kittle just tore you a new one against San Francisco, so they seem to be having trouble covering the tight end here lately. Justin Jefferson was the one that was kind of non-existent in the last game as quote-unquote a decoy because you've got so many eyes on him. But, you know, if this Bears defense, gives up these kind of numbers again to the Vikings, it could be a long day at the office on the road, on primetime Monday night.
Yeah, I'd say smoke and mirrors. I'd say, the high octane offense that every Bears fan is looking for there's a lot of smoke and mirrors there. Yeah, even look at who is arguably the best quarterback in the league right now. Patrick Mahomes, and people think that he's not playing well, and they've only got one loss. Okay, they've been able to power themselves to Super Bowls through offense. They've been able to power themselves through the Super Bowl through defense, and they've been heavily leaning on their defense as of late. But the thing about it is, these teams, and it's shown, like the figures have shown, teams in the NFL that throw 60% or more find themselves in the losers bracket. Like, they find themselves not making the playoffs because they're throwing too much. You're doing too much. You're asking too much of these quarterbacks to come out and throw the ball and sling the ball every play. And when you do that, you have heavy tendencies. And if you have heavy tendencies, any smart defensive coach is going to take advantage of that. So for the Bears, we've got to find a way to protect. We've got to find a way to protect and limit these sacks. Everybody looks at Caleb and they say, "Oh man, all I care about is Caleb's progression." Well, if you don't care about what's happening outside of Caleb, then Caleb's progression is going to sink. Okay, so he needs. You can't do it alone. You cannot do this. This is the ultimate team sport. On offense, you need all 11 players. On defense, you need all 11 players. So if Caleb is ascending and there are 21 players that are descending, where does that put us? Where does that put the state of the Bears?
Mm-hmm.
So we need these guys to play some inspired football. And inspired football isn't dancing when you're down 31-6 or you score a touchdown. That's not it. You know what I mean? So play inspired football so that we can continue to keep guys around and know that you're going to be part of this build with Kate.
Yeah, it's well said. And, when you talk about, protecting the quarterback, making sure you're not taking as many sacks. I think they had 7. They give up 7 sacks to the San Francisco 49ers. The odd part is when you played Minnesota, they only had 3 sacks. And if you looked at the numbers statistically for Caleb Williams against the blitz with Minnesota the last time around, they did very well. They were prepared for it. So, then the Niners aren't as known for the blitzing that Brian Flores is going to bring in all the different looks. But, obviously it didn't go the same way. So there's certainly some adjustments that need to be made from last Sunday. But hopefully Thomas Brown can kind of replicate some of the success they did have with some of the looks they were getting at the line of scrimmage from Brian Flores, because he's gonna do some really unique things where he's gonna bring everybody in the box. And it looks like they're gonna blitz the house, and then they only send 2 rushers, and now everybody's dropped back in a zone, and you have to be prepared for that moment. And so that's that kind of defense can really confuse a rookie quarterback. But Caleb, first time around, yes, they did come back, down 11 with 30 seconds left. So there was a little bit of luck and smoke and mirrors, as you called it, to the end of that game and some of the statistics that you throw out there. And one of the things that you also mentioned too is, don't lean so heavily on your quarterback to make all the plays. As I said, to your point, he threw 47 times in that game, 32 of 47. And guess who the leading rusher was in that game? Caleb Williams. So when you look at Minnesota and how they won that game, they run for over 100 yards with Aaron Jones at 5 yards per carry. DeAndre Swift goes for 13 carries and 30 yards on a 2-yard per carry clip. So if they can't establish a run, they're going to have another long day.
Okay, but to the Bears' defense on not rushing a lot, when you bring that many guys up front, the answer to that is getting the ball to the edges right now. So there were those wide receiver hitches and screens and stuff like that. That is the equivalent of rushes, and the Bears did that extremely well, and that's the reason why a lot of those yards, they got a lot of yards against that team. There are specifics that you have to adapt to depending on what team that you play. There's adjustments that have to be made. And against a Vikings team that shows, 6, 7 at the line of scrimmage, get it to the edge, get the ball out to the edge right now, and where you have the numbers and we can win.
Interesting, and I can remember last year when Luke Getsy and Justin Fields were trying to figure out Minnesota and their defense on a primetime stage, and there was a lot of frustration from fans, myself included, that everything was east and west. They're not throwing enough, slants, and stuff over the middle. They're blitzing off the edge. Why aren't we attacking the side that they're blitzing on and throw over the middle? So I guess my question to you is, when you say the looks they're showing at the line of scrimmage, then the answer to that equation is get the ball out quick to the outside. How can you – does it come a point where you just have to run what you're going to run regardless of what you're looking at because Brian Flores is putting such disguised looks at the line of scrimmage?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that you can attack it. You got to look at you got to work with your coaching staff. That's why it's important to have good minds, really good minds that are around you. You have an offensive line coach that really wants to run the ball. Your tight ends coach is in between, but he wants his tight ends to shine. Your running backs coach wants to get the ball to his running back in any way, shape, or form. So when you go against a team, and obviously we all know about the receivers coach, but when you go against this team, you say, okay, if they're going to load the box, your offensive lines coach, hey, listen, we know we can manipulate them by, we're going to trap them right here. We're going to trap them. Well, coach, they're dropping right now. So if they're dropping and we're looking at first and second down, well, coach, they're dropping on, 50% of the play. So we're not sure if we're going to get that play or we're going to get this play. This could cause problems for that trap or whatever it is that we run there. Well, maybe we wham them, and okay, coach, what if we get the ball out to our receivers right now, and make them come out, make them, where we have numbers on the outside of the box, so there's a conversation that should be going on and say, okay, this is what plan B is going to look like, or plan A is going to look like. All right. If plan A doesn't, if they stop this, and stop this in our first 15 scripted plays, then we're going to move to our plan B section. All right. If they stop this, because we have so many good minds, where's actually a plan C, and plan C might be going back to this. All right, let's just play. This is who we are. When those plans don't work out, then we go back to this is just us right here. But plan A, B, and C should be you regardless of what the emergency plan is.
Yeah, certainly interesting stuff there. And I think maybe also, putting guys in motion pre-snap to try to get the tell from the defense and changing your formation looks,
absolutely,
pre-snap is a trick to kind of get the tell from what you guys are trying to do defensively. So it'll be an interesting game of chess. And like I said, an opportunity for Thomas Brown to show adjustments off a loss and adjustments, from a game and a matchup where you've already played this team and you've had some success offensively and you've had some failures defensively. And now it's going to be on the primetime stage. So there's no hiding, from any of the scrutiny that'll come if you guys don't come prepared to put out a much better showing than you did against San Francisco. So ultimately, something me and you have talked about many times here in the last week since the game on Sunday, the hope is play for some pride here. And let's show that you guys have a little bit more backbone than it felt like you showed in that game against San Francisco, because the effort was just unacceptable across the board.
And play for your ability to say, I'm going to be a part of this championship build that we're building here in Chicago. I mean, I should be one of these players, So, if you don't play inspired, if you don't play well, and you continue to be a reason why we're not being productive defensively or offensively, you're going to be gone.
Yep, no question about it. We appreciate everybody here tuning in today to CHGO Bears After Dark as you get set for Thursday night football. Once again, hit that like button while you're hanging out, while you've been with us here all day. Hit that like button for Peanut Tillman and Lance Briggs and all the Chicago Bears greats that put a smile on our face. You got that thumb going there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the thumb bend. I feel like mine.
You do got a thumb bend. You got that hitchhiker's thumb.
Oh, the hitchhiker, yeah.
And then a quick reminder, too, to make sure you become a diehard here at CHGO Sports. If you go to allchgosports.com/diehard, you can sign up. You get a free shirt when you sign up. Got the Claws Up shirt, Lance. We got a bunch of different cool designs as well. The Chicago collection. Everybody loves the little Paisano design at the bottom as well. So you can get some free merch as soon as you sign up, and you get some exclusive written content when you do as well. All right. That wraps things up for tonight in CHGO Bears After Dark. Appreciate everybody that tuned into this fine program. And once again, thank you, Lance Briggs, for all your insights. And, of course, the award-winning segment that is the 5 for 55. Any final thoughts before we hit the road?
Hey, just excited. I hope that we get a better showing for our Bears this week, as I think everybody else does. But either way, peace and love to everybody, man.
That's right. Peace and love. Enjoy your weekend. Bears will play on Monday night. We'll have it all covered. CHGO Bears will have a show here on Friday, so make sure you tune into that with Mark Harmon and Nick Moriano and some of the updates after practice and after the press conferences. So we're going to have everything covered. Then you can enjoy your weekend, enjoy some football on a Sunday without the Bears, and then we'll be there to cover it all for you on Monday Night Football. All right, that wraps things up. Once again, thank you to everybody. We'll see you soon. Enjoy your night. Keep your head up. And always, bear
down. It's some rap.
We all silly like the mayor.